Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Oh Hell No podcast. Tonight I have Ximena Yanez Soto. She is an author and a holistic health coach, and she's going to tell us about what she's been doing, her passions, and how she's trying to help us live healthier and, save the planet all at the same time. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Keisha. I'm so honored to be with you today. Thanks.
Great. I'm honored to have you on. So I want to ask you, when you were growing up as a child, what did you think you were going to be as an adult?
Yeah, well, first I have to tell you that I was born and raised in Mexico City.
Nice.
So, yeah, I'm Mexican. So, ah, you know, my mom was a chemical biologist or something like that. So I always wanted to study biology. At some point, I said I want to be an orthodontist. so, but I was very inclined into natural science. I wanted to do with animals and cells and all the things to understand why are we here, how are we exchanging air, water. Yeah, all of that was my passion. I didn't study that though.
Oh, so you were always drawn to biology, nature, just things like that. So what did you end up studying?
Well, the thing is that my mom died when I was 14 years old,
Oh.
and then my dad remarried. Yeah, and uh, we were a combined family because his new wife had daughters. So we lived all together, and we weren't having a great time. Actually, I think all of us were suffering. So being at my house was not the best place to be. So I hanged with my grandmother a lot. Luckily, I had her, my dad's mom. And when I was about to finish high school, she said, "You know what? I know you love all these things about nature and biology and those things, but I think you need to study something to leave your house soon because in Mexico it's not like in the US. When you go to college, you still live with your parents.
Mm.
So yeah, we stay with them until we finish. So it's very unusual to have somebody that's studying college and not living with their parents. But my grandmother was telling me, I think you should do that. And you should study a career that allow you to be able to pay for a rent. So she said, I believe you should study public accountant to be a public accountant. And I didn't really know what that was because I was always looking for physics and chemistry and things like that. So I didn't know what was that, but I trusted her and I enrolled to study that. And of course, I didn't like it very much. And at the end of my career, I spoke to the director of the career, and she said, "Yeah, I know you weren't always like the model to for the public accountant, but I have a job that might be interesting for you. It's an environmental fund." And then I thought, yeah, I'm almost finished with this career, but that doesn't mean that I can still be working in something I like the conservation of nature. So
Mhm.
I applied to that job and I got it. I started as a accountant of an environmental fund, and then a couple of years later, I became the CFO of that environmental fund.
Look at
So
that.
interesting. I ended up there. I loved working there. Really, really loved my job. Um, but I didn't study what I really wanted as a child.
Right. But here's the thing. I feel like the things that we're passionate about when we're young, they manifest in different ways. So it's not always straight,
Yeah.
but it's still, you still touch it somehow, some way. So Abuela was smart. She gave you the right.
Abuela was very, very smart. And my dad ended up divorcing this woman, so I didn't have to leave my house.
Oh,
I stayed there. So yeah, things didn't work between them. It was difficult to bring two families together. It's a
yeah.
difficult thing. Yeah,
Yeah, I totally understand. But I'm glad that all worked out for you and that you landed into that career and you were able to get the exposure to, nature and the environment and then still also make a good living for yourself.
exactly, exactly. And I was very, very happy. I worked there for 23 years, and all I can say is that I was really happy. I had a wonderful boss um, during the whole time I was there.
Mhm.
So yeah, it turned out very, very good.
Nice. So being someone that was always interested in biology, did you always I should say, were you always health conscious or did that evolve over time?
Actually, I wasn't conscious at all.
Mm,
Like I was, I was a very sick person. I was always sick. I had always something going on. Um, I had to see doctors like maybe every month because I had something new. My dad used to say in the mornings, "Hello, how are you? What's your new sickness?" Because yeah, I was always developing something new. So yeah, health. I thought I wasn't born to be healthy. That's what I thought when I was a teenager and then my 20s and late 20s because I was always sick. And when I was around 38 or 39, I already had my two daughters. I was used to go to the doctor every month because I always had something going on, and I wasn't feeling so good. So I was diagnosed with POTS, which means postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which
mm,
means that somehow the walls of the veins uh, they're not strong enough, so they can't bring from the legs the blood back to the heart. And some people faint, but in my case, I wouldn't faint. My heart just go pumping like crazy, and it was pumping all day long. So I was very, very tired. And then I was diagnosed also with high cholesterol. So I went to see the cardiologist, and she said, "Well, you'll have to take two pills for the rest of your life, one for the POTS and another one for the high cholesterol." And one thing is to be sick all the time and having meds for a month or a couple of months. And another different story is when you're told you have to take a pill for the rest of your life.
yeah.
That was my oh hell no moment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this is not happening. I have two little daughters. No, there's no way. So I asked her, "Isn't a diet that can help me control my symptoms or something like that?"
Mhm.
And she said, "No, uh, your diet has nothing to do with your health." And I was like, "Really?" And then she said, "Well, okay, let's do something. Try the diet you want to try. Try it for 2 months. Then come back and we'll talk about your meds when you come back. But try it." And then I tried. And
Mhm.
when I came back, she looked at my lab results and she was like, "What did you do? Like all my patients should be doing what you did."
Yeah.
Uh, because I recovered and it was just diet. So I was never self-conscious about health and nutrition. I love the natural world, but I saw it like outside of me. I thought I had something bad in myself, and I maybe didn't deserve to be healthy. And then I had this experience, and then I said, everyone deserves to be healthy. It's just a thing about being mindful of what you eat.
Yeah, absolutely. So the POTS, do you still have that or no?
No, I
Ah,
don't take any meds. Sometimes when I'm not eating that well and
mhm.
I'm exposed to, so, we're exposed to a lot of things, to a lot of toxics.
Yeah.
Even our cell phones, they're radiation,
Yeah.
right? So when I'm exposed to some things, or I eat something that I know it's not good for me, I can feel just a little sensation. But
Hmm.
I've been free of meds for maybe 10 years, eight,
Oh,
9 years. So I
that's
don't even take a Tylenol or anything like that. No, I'm
that's
free of that. Yeah.
amazing. I interviewed a young lady who was about 15 when she was diagnosed with POTS. Yeah, and she actually had the fainting spells.
Mhm.
So it was really hard, imagine being in high school and having that issue. So I was just curious if, you still had it, but wow,
Yeah.
good for
And
you.
the meds I was taking, the doctor explained to me, you don't faint because your heart it comes to save the day.
Hmm.
But the med I'm going to give you, it will stop your heart from doing that. So you might be fainting. So you have to tell everybody at your job, or if she recommended me to start practicing yoga, to your yoga teacher, to your husband, to your family, that you might faint and that it's okay. I never fainted, actually. And I was on that med, I think maybe for a year or two at the most, and now I'm good. Sometimes I feel like I'm feeling, weak, and
Yeah,
I know that there's something going on, but I can fix it if I start eating the right the right food for me. Yeah.
right. That's amazing. So, tell us, now that you have been living this healthier lifestyle, what does holistic health look like?
Well, holistic health, and let me tell you why I changed from being the CFO of an environmental fund, and I'm now a holistic health coach. And it's because I moved to the US.
Hmm.
I moved 7 years ago, and I was the CFO of a Mexican environmental fund in Mexico. And back then, working remotely was not a thing, was not an option. So I knew that my time there was over. My boss asked me to stay a couple of years because he was about to retire. So I stayed there for a couple of years, and it gave me the time to think, what am I going to do next? And then I thought, I've been through this. I have been able, from thinking my body had some kind of something wrong, uh, from being able to live a healthy life. Maybe I can teach people to do that. And in the environmental fund, I was a CFO, so I always set the rules, and I always told people what to do. And I didn't care about their thoughts or their feelings, because it was the law, right? I was following the law, so I didn't care much about people. And then I came here and I said, maybe it's time to help people to live a healthy life and care about them, because I have been missing that. They actually called me at the office, Doctor No, because I always say, no, can we spend money? No. Can I have a bonus? No. Everything was no.
Right.
So I wanted to try something completely different. So being in touch with people, caring about people, listening to them and their needs and their thoughts and their feelings, and helping them live a healthy and happy life. Because when you're healthy, you're happy. That's the thing. So holistic health, um, it sees the person in integral way, in a holistic way. It's not just your diet. It's, how are you feeling with your partner or with your family? How are your relationships? How are you feeling in what you do, your career, the place you work, the relationships with those people? Are you exercising? Are you moving your body? How are you feeling about, you know, about something else, like something going on around the universe or God or whatever you want to call it? And it's interesting because I had a client, he came to me because he had diabetes.
Mhm.
And when he came to me, he was very concerned about losing a foot or a toe. No, a foot. He was very concerned, and losing his sight. So we started working in this holistic way. And what we came to notice is that he actually thought he was not enough, that he was always like this gray thing, that he couldn't speak up, that he couldn't tell people what he was feeling or his thoughts or his ideas, that he was always like, okay, whatever you say, whatever you say. uh, he was hiding. And then we start working with his diet. Of course, he had to remove some things from his diet. uh, but he started working in this part of trying to feel that he could be heard and that he had value.
Mhm.
And then he loved to dance, and he went to dance to, I don't know where, a club maybe, and he was always dancing alone. But when he started uh, doing realizing that he had value, the girls started asking him to dance and to come with like, can you come with me and dance? And then we finished. I have a 6 month program. So when we finished, after 6 months, I asked him, he was able to reverse his diabetes.
Mhm.
So I asked him, what was the best part of your program? And I thought he was going to tell me, because he came to me because he had this concern about losing a foot or his sight. And I was uh, sure he was going to tell me the best thing was that I could reverse my diabetes. But he didn't. He said, the best thing is that now I am really, really a happy man. So there was something going on. He was very, very unhappy. So
Right.
holistic means that you can fix different parts, areas of your life that can make you sick, because
Right.
it's not just a physical thing. It's a mental thing and a spiritual thing too.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I was watching something online and this doctor was saying that something about you thinking that you are sick or you're going to get sick or something like that, and that your thoughts feed into other things and it creates, the situation where you will get sick, so I totally agree with that. um so what do you think most clients have the most trouble with when transitioning to a healthier lifestyle?
The thing that I see with almost all people is that we have been told lies about protein.
Mhm.
Like, if I ask you, well, maybe you will answer something different, but most of the people, when I ask them, if I say the word protein, what comes to your mind?
I think of like chicken or fish or, some type of meat.
Yeah. So we have been brainwashed that protein is is meat or animal products.
Mhm.
um, and that's not true, because I'm going to tell it fast. I don't want to go into chemistry or anything, but actually proteins are large or long chains of amino acids.
Mhm.
And you know what? Everything has amino acids, like carrots and lettuce and cucumbers and all fruits and vegetables. They have amino acids. The thing is that they are called incomplete proteins because they lack one or two essential amino acids. So the thing with the amino acids is that science has discovered 20 amino acids. The human body can produce 11, and 9 of them we have to take them from what we eat. So meat and fish and all those things, they have the 9 essential amino acids.
Mhm.
But plants also have amino acids. They have maybe 8 essential amino acids. They have maybe 8 or 7, but we can do what it's called protein complementation. which means if you combine different family foods, like for example, fruits and seeds or legumes and seeds, uh, you bring together all the essential amino acids and you will be eating, and that's a complete protein. So we've been fed lice our whole lives. Uh, I go for a plant-based diet, which doesn't mean stop eating animal products. It's just reduce your animal consumption because it's good for you and it's good for the planet too. So the most difficult thing is the switch you have to do. You have to change your mind and stop thinking about protein and start thinking about amino acids. Which are the combinations I need to do with different families of foods to get all the essential amino acids my body needs? Um, because we are used to stack our plates with animal protein. We eat animal protein at least 3 times per day. And when we stack our plates with animal proteins, we're leaving out these wonderful foods like fruits, which have a lot of good information for our bodies. They have, of course, glucose, which our body craves because it's the most important fuel for our bodies and brains. But they also have water and fiber and antioxidants that help us not to grow old fast. The antioxidants, they stop the process of aging. So when we eat a lot of animal protein, we're leaving out other foods that are super great for our health. So that's the thing I think people struggle the most with, because since we were kids, everybody was telling us, eat your proteins, eat your proteins. Now that we're moms, make your son, your child, eat the proteins. So we have these proteins
Right.
inside of our brains, and it's so difficult to change that to acknowledge that there are proteins in other foods too.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think definitely around food, it's definitely like the biggest thing to try to like absorb what you can eat and what you can't. And then when people say things like the other day, someone I asked this girl, "What are you doing? You look great. I need to know." And she said, "I eat clean and I do cardio and drink water." So I was like, "Okay, I'm going to start eating clean." And then I'm like, "What does eating clean mean?" So I started asking, my sister and my cousin about it, and my cousin was like, "Just eat, don't eat processed stuff and just, eat your veggies and your fruit or whatever." And then you start to think about what you think eating clean means. And then you go to this like crazy place,
Yeah.
and thinking like, oh my God, I have to eat like a vegan if I'm eating clean, when that's not the case. So I think
Yeah.
that we definitely take in a lot of information, and we don't really know what what way we're supposed to be going and what really means what.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
everything is a fad or a trend.
Yes.
What we know, it's just marketing strategies
Yeah.
from the food industry,
Hmm.
because they're not concerned about the planet or health. They're just concerned about being more profitable.
Yep.
That's the thing. And we have these fads and trends, and the thing, uh, I'm talking to kids right now, middle school kids and high school kids, because they are amazing. They're a complete new generation, different to what my generation was. At least in Mexico, we weren't allowed to ask questions. And these kids came to this world and they're asking questions all the time. But they're not asking about foods. Like, I think it has something to do with our survival brain, that what we're told by our parents, our mothers, or maybe our doctors, we take that as a truth, like unquestionable truth, and we don't ask anymore. So
Hmm.
how can these kids be asking about everything, but they're not asking, why are we eating this? Why should we eat proteins? What are proteins? They're not asking that.
I'm
And
surprised.
yeah,
Because
Yeah,
these
because
kids today, they want to know everything.
everything.
Yeah.
So I think it has to do with our survival minds. And I where I live, I have a lot of deer and rabbits, and I see them, the babies, they always follow the mom, and the mom teaches them how to survive. I don't I don't think they ask questions. So it seems that mammals, we work that way. We follow what regarding food, we follow what our mom tells us,
Hmm.
and we stop questioning, because
Yeah.
it's not, in my case, my generation, well, we didn't ask things, we did as we were told, like,
Right.
yes sir, yes sir.
Right.
But
Mine
this,
too.
yeah, this generation is asking everything,
Yeah.
but they're not asking these questions.
Right. So some things kind of they just leave alone based on what they were taught, but then they
Mhm.
have questions around other things.
Exactly.
Yeah, I definitely see that. So, I was going to ask you, what are some ways you help people to transition that you think makes your services more unique than someone else who's doing what you're doing? But I think you touched on that by saying that you really take the person and look at them holistically, meaning whole, and you want to solve whatever emotional issues that might be attached to the eating and looking at everything, because I saw something online like that. It's like this commercial about how people eat, like what makes you eat this way. And maybe I saw it on TV. I can't even remember. Information overload, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's a commercial, and the girl is thinking, playing back all the times where her grandmother was giving her food and saying, "Eat, eat, I made this for you, eat, eat." And
Mhm.
then the response on her phone says that she's been suffering from emotional or guilt eating, like eating out of guilt. Someone's forcing food on you and guilting you into eating
Mhm.
it. So now every time someone gives you a plate, even if you feel full, you eat it because you feel like, oh my God, this reminds
Yeah.
me of my grandmother saying, eat, eat, you have to eat this. I made it for you. So it's so funny that, you're zeroing in on something very similar where you're trying to get to the root of the whole issue and not just, oh, I have diabetes, I'm taking meds. Like, what should I do?
Yeah. The thing is, uh, I like to have clients that want to, I wouldn't say get rid of meds, because sometimes you can't, and it depends on your doctor, and but that you're, people like me that are tired of being sick all the time, and just like taking a pill, which doesn't cure you, because pills and meds don't cure you. They're just covering the symptoms of something going on. And most of the times what's going on has nothing to do with your body, or maybe a little bit your diet, but it's more emotional. Um, I read somewhere that everyone in the world has emotional disorders surrounding what we eat, because yeah, food, you attach food to some emotions, good emotions, bad emotions, when you're having a good time or you're having a bad time. So in some sort of way, everybody in the world has a thing going on with food. I remember when, as a child, my parents and my grandparents, I didn't want to eat. I didn't like anything. But they would tell me, and I can understand that, because my grandparents, when they were kids, they were in the middle of the war. They were born in Spain.
Mhm.
So yeah, for them it's difficult, war and scarcity. So they put the plate in front of me and I didn't want to eat. And they would start saying, there's people dying around the world because they don't have anything to eat. There's war going on, and people don't have anything to eat. So yeah, they make you feel guilty,
Yeah.
and you start developing things around food. So everybody has issues around food. So what I do is, now I see food as my building blocks. now I see food as something that it's gonna benefit my body and my mind. You said there's a relationship on what's going on here and what's showing your body, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, I try to think about food, uh, like this is gonna build my body, so I'd rather give my body something useful than, because food is information. Actually, food is information for your body and your microbiome also. So you have a choice. You can give the best information available to your cells, to your microbiome, or you can give them junk.
Yeah.
It's up to you. So I think that's a way to stop this bad relationship with food. And maybe if you want to give yourself a treat because you achieved something, well, go for an apple, because my body will appreciate that. And I make that conscious decision instead of feeling that a donut is a bad food. It's just, I think an apple, my body will appreciate an apple rather than a donut, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it start thinking consciously around food, and stop repeating and doing what everybody else tells you to do.
Yeah, for sure. This guy I used to work with said he eats to live. He doesn't live to eat. So
Exactly.
I was just I always remember that. So I'm like, hey, that's really good. You got to kind of think like that, you know?
Yeah.
So
It to live happy and healthy,
right,
because it's in your hands. You have the power. When you have that knowledge of food is good for me, food is information for me, then you can start modeling your body. And with that, you can start modeling your happiness.
for sure.
Mhm.
So you wrote a book, Healthy Planet, Healthy You. What was the inspiration for this book?
Oh, well, when I was 7 years ago, when I moved to the US, I was thinking, what should I do? So I decided to become a health coach.
Mhm.
And once, I worked for an environmental fund, and I was becoming a health coach at that point. And one, I listened to Greta Thunberg. She was talking, she was mad, and she was talking about the grim future. Politicians and corporations are they're making this world uh, uh, not a very sustainable and livable world. So she was complaining about that and was telling them, she was very angry. She had her eyes on fire, and she was telling them, "What are you doing? You're leaving us, me, and my generation, and of course my daughters are her generation. Like they're teenagers,
Yeah,
and you're leaving us a grim future of an unlivable world. What are you doing?" She was very, very angry. So I said, how I work in this environmental fund, and I thought, I'm doing already my part because I'm working in this environmental fund. But something kept showing in my mind, like, are you doing everything? Are you doing everything? The question kept coming to my mind. So I said, well, I had a dream, because I was like, I'm doing my part. I'm working in this environmental fund. I had a dream. I dreamt about a little girl that had Greta Thunberg eyes, and she was kind of mad and sad. And in dreams, sometimes you don't know the people, but you're related to them. So at some point, I knew I was related to this little girl, and I was like, I didn't know what to do. So I was like, everything's gonna be all right. Don't worry. I didn't know who was she, but I thought she's part of my family. And then she turned to me and she asked, "Can I ask you a question?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And she said, "Did you really do everything in your power to change climate change?" And at that moment, I woke up and I was just crying, and I was like, I'm not doing everything I can do. I can do more. How can I bring uh, these two worlds together? The world of environmental and sustainability, and this new world about holistic health. And then I started reading the UN reports about climate change and the things we should do before it's too late. And in between lines, I read something like reduce your red meat consumption. And I said, I should do some research and see why the UN is saying reduce. What does the consumption of red meat has to do with climate change? So I started doing this research, and what I found, oh, it was like I have to share this with the world. I have to share this with the world because 1/3 of the greenhouse gas emissions into the atmosphere, they come from agriculture, and 70% of that 1/3 comes from livestock. So I knew that eating that much animal protein is making us sick. Humanity has never been so sick as we are today. And kids are getting sicker and sicker. They already have these sicknesses that were only like adult sicknesses like
Right.
diabetes and
Yeah.
heart conditions and some things in the liver like cirrhosis and yeah. So they're getting those, and they're very very young. So there's something wrong with what we eat. So I started finding all this correlation um, in between the environment and our how humanity is very sick. And what I say is, how can we expect to be healthy if our diet is not sustainable with the planet we call home? Our diets are not sustainable. So I decided to write this book to bring to people that knowledge, because when you have the knowledge, you can change. You have everything in your hand. You have the power in your hand to start changing, to start asking the questions we're not asking. So I wanted to bring that to the people. And yeah, it's in your hands. It's just a small decision. It's simple. It might not be easy because of what I told you, that we've been brainwashed about protein. So sometimes it's not easy, because the easy thing is to put a piece of meat on a pan and cook it. Sometimes it's more difficult to cook some chickpeas and legumes and things. It takes more time, but the power is, I know the power is in knowing that the way we eat today has nothing to do with corporations concerned about our health or the environment. They're just making money. And I wanted to bring that to everybody.
So if there is one piece of information that you want people to take from this book, like let's say you read the book and you're like, oh my God, this was so much information, I'm overwhelmed. What is the one thing that you want them to take away?
Reduce your animal protein consumption. That would be in a couple of words. And it's relatively easy, because you can do the meatless Monday, or you can do just salads for lunch, or you can, instead of having eggs and bacon for breakfast, you can have a smoothie. So reduce at least, instead of eating 3 times per day animal protein, maybe just 2 times. It's better for you if you don't eat that much. But what I would say is just think about this. I'm not telling people stop eating animal products. No, I'm just saying reduce and be mindful.
Yeah.
Why are you eating like this? Who told you that you had to eat like this? Yeah.
Yeah, someone definitely told us.
Yeah.
Or they just kept feeding us this stuff and we're like, oh no, I have to have my chicken, I have to have my beef, whatever. But yeah, I agree. I think that's good. And I think it is better for you, for your body. So I think it's a great, great concept. So is there anything that you still struggle with that is not the healthiest food wise and environmentally that you're still working on?
Yeah, I still eat some cheese. Uh, I try to buy European cheese because they don't use hormones for
Mhm.
those cows. So I try to buy that. It's not that I eat cheese all day, every day. It's kind of mm, maybe 3 or 4 times per week. And I have a confession to make. I'm addicted to processed foods and chips and all of those things because they make them addictive. The main thing is to make them addictive so you can come back and come back. So whenever I have family visiting and they buy chips and they leave them here, I'm like, oh no. Why? I try not to buy them because
Yeah.
if I have them in my kitchen, I would eat them.
Yeah.
So that's a huge problem with addiction. Like it's addictive. They're they're engineers designing those foods, the perfect flavor and the perfect crunchiness. So it's very difficult for you. So yeah, those are my two sins: cheese and processed foods. But processed foods, I try not to buy them. It's just that sometimes people bring them to my house, and
Right.
when I have them, it's so difficult. Yeah, and
Definitely.
yeah, it's not a thing of feeling guilty. That's another thing. We shouldn't feel guilty about what we eat. I used to, if I'm gonna have some chips, I put them in a little bowl like this
Mhm.
size, and I say, okay, I'm gonna enjoy them. I'm not gonna eat them with a guilty sense of yeah, the sense of guiltiness. No, I'm gonna eat them. I'm gonna enjoy them. And next time, I hope they're not home. They're not here. Yeah.
Right. Are you hard on your daughters about their diets and what they should and shouldn't eat, or do you kind of let them make their own decision based on the information you share?
I let them make their own decisions, but they have come pretty good because that's what they see every day. So I have my little one, she's sick, she has a cold, and she knows cold means fruits and vegetables. She can't eat any processed foods or animal protein. And they heal very fast. When they have something, they know and they heal very fast, and that's good. My older one is going to college next year, and she one of her things, the things she was looking for at the dorms, is that they had like uh, kitchens, like where she could go and make herself a salad or something like that.
Mhm.
So they're very mindful about what to eat, and they can see the results because when they get sick, they recover very, very fast if they start paying attention
Right.
to what they eat. Yeah.
Nice. I love it. So, for all of our listeners, tell them what a session, just a high level overview of what a session with you would look like.
Yeah, I have this 6 month program. I love to do one on one. Many people ask me to do like groups program, but the thing with one on one is that we can go deeper, both of us. My client and I, we can go deeper into his or hers situation. Every situation is different, every person is different, and every person has different needs. Even with food, I wouldn't say nobody should eat meat. No, I know some people might need meat. um, so we see each other for 6 months. Every 2 weeks it's a session of 50 minutes. Of course, I we go through a lot of tools, like for example the circle of life, where we can see which areas of your life you're not comfortable with, and then we might, if you need, do a elimination diet. Not everybody needs an elimination diet, so we go. I do it very personalized. um, I take this circle of life as the starting point,
Mhm.
and from there, uh, we just go over the things that you feel they're not like 100% in your life. Like they could be better.
Right.
And there we'll find all the things that are making you feel sick. Uh, yeah, mostly all the time you have things that manifest in your body. I had another client. She came because she started feeling tingles in her, I think was left arm and left leg, and also she was having some digestive issues. But when we start seeing what was going on in her life, she had another thing going on, very, very, very important thing that she had to resolve, that she had to pay attention to. And after, I think it was maybe 2 months, I asked her about the tingling and the digestive issues. And she said, you know what? I didn't even remember I had those. And she had those things going on for 6 months before coming to me. So when you start mending other areas of your life, immediately you start healing your body. I've seen that in my clients. So I like to do it very personalized. And I wouldn't say we do this and that. We start with the circle of life, and then we go over all the areas. You, not me. You tell me you have to work a little bit more.
Yeah, sounds good. So, do you feel like you are doing purpose driven work? And if you do, what part of your work do you feel like is a part of your purpose?
Well, I have a purpose. My purpose is to leave a better world to future generations. So I think I'm doing that with my book because we want to be healthy. We want to have healthy diets. And with that, we will heal the world too. Not that the world need to be healed, because the thing is that we might disappear as a species and the planet will continue to be here. So it's not about healing the planet. It's about making the conditions, giving our kids the planet in good conditions so they can thrive too. So my purpose is to leave to leave them a better future, a beautiful planet. I received this planet from my parents. It was a wonderful planet, and the UN says that we have this decade to start making changes, but because if we don't do some things, important things this decade, by 2030 everything's going to be different, and our kids won't be even won't be concerned about doing what they love, getting the job of their lives. They would be totally focused on climate, because that's going to be the thing they will be challenged every day. So that's my purpose. So if we're healthy, if we are happy, if we are mindful about what we eat, we will be mindful about the planet, and we will be leaving them a better world. Because the trends, they're not good. They're not good.
So scary to even think about that.
Yeah. And the thing is that we don't live that right now. So it's very difficult to, kind of understand it. But actually, we've been living, it's starting. Like
With
you
the
could see
weather.
with the weather. Yeah. Like here, we have no snow. We had like the mountains, the slopes where you ski. You can see dirt. Other years there was this beautiful snow, you couldn't see anything. Now you can see the dirt. Beijing, the Olympics, they had to bring snow because they didn't have snow. And yeah, all the things that are happening. We had here, it's Boulder, it's very close to Denver. It was the last days of December, and they have a major fire, like wildfire, when we usually have snow at that time. Yeah. So, and last year, Denver, because of all the smoke coming from the West Coast, all the fires from the West Coast, Denver, which usually has a very nice sky, very blue sky, was the most polluted city in the world for I don't know how many days. It was awful. It was very, very sad. So
Yeah, I do see it with the weather. I'm over here in Jersey, and it's like, warm one day, it's cold one day, it's
mm,
all over the place,
mhm,
So the times where we used to know, okay, this is fall, this is spring, this is summer, it's just shifting, and you're
mhm.
you're not even sure what season you're in.
Yeah.
So it's definitely happening. Something's happening. So on the Oh Hell No podcast, I always ask my guests to share an Oh Hell No moment that has changed their life, changed their perspective on something, taught them a lesson. Oh Hell No moments happen daily, but some moments are more significant than others. So share an Oh Hell No moment with us where you learned something.
Well, one was when my doctor said you have to take these pills for the rest of your life. And it
Yeah,
was, oh no, hell, I have to do something. I have to start to understand if doctors are not helping me. I I'm I don't know why my intuition told me that there was something I could do
yeah.
regarding my diet. And I followed my intuition and actually am better than ever,
Hmm.
right? And the second one was when I had this dream about this little girl. And I was just like, yeah, I'm doing something. And I woke up crying and totally understanding that I wasn't doing anything, that I had to start doing something for them, for these kids. So I would tell that those were my two oh hell no moments. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. I love when people have those moments where there's like an intervention and someone
Mhm.
else tells you a message. It's like amazing. So,
Yeah.
tell us where we can purchase your book and where we can connect with you on whatever platforms you're on.
Yeah, thank you. Well, my book is on Amazon. It's in Spanish and in English, so you can look it for it. It's Healthy Planet, Healthy You, and you can connect with me. I have a website. It's www.believetransformb, everything as a single word.com. So it's www.believetransformb.com, and you can get in touch with me through that, through my website, and you can find my book too. And I don't know, all my social media are there, all my accounts are there. So yeah, I think that's the easiest way to get in contact with me.
Nice. Well, excuse me, guys. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast and sharing a little bit of your journey with us. I really appreciate it. And it was great having you.
Oh no, thank you so much, Keisha. I had a wonderful time, and I hope we can see each other together again.
Yes, absolutely.